Because I'm always so worried about what my opposition is going to say. When I realized that on my last video, they had shut the comment section off, from my perspective at least. You guys can still comment, but I can't see what comments are coming through. Whew, instead of continuing, because I'm like, whew, at least the comments are coming through and they're not hurting my feelings anymore. Instead of that being the case, I decided to reset the video. And so, I want to know what sort of opposition people have to this narrative. Like, this is historical fact according to what we're supposed to know. Do I think it's real? Sure. Ouch. I'm sure there's elements of it that are real, and I'm sure there's elements of the narrative we're given that aren't true. But I am sure that balanced and Zionist in nature. So when I read the Wikipedia profile for this, Israel approves of us knowing. Okay? So if you want to hear the beginning parts of this video, or the beginning parts of this narrative, by all means, go watch the previous video. Yeah. Otherwise, we're going to restart. I'm not going to redo anything, but I'm going to just pick up where I left off here in a minute. And we will continue our investigation. Karen, what's going on? Karen, you must really want your fucking PS2 today, huh? Prize for today, PS2. You know what's crazy? You make that joke, but the reality is the prizes are probably like cars, trips to this place or that place, a boat, some shit like obnoxiously, ridiculously good prizes. If you ever go watch the original episodes of The Price is Right, my God, they used to give away a ton of shit. But the reality is, there's not a single American on, that exists. Proud, God-fearing American, this, that, and the other, that hears this narrative, or at the very least hears me talking about this narrative and says, oh, you should stop talking about this. This isn't something that Americans should or want to know. This is a non sequitur. This is just a nothing story. You're just lying and making up nonsense, and for some reason the Israeli-controlled Wikipedia page that can't be edited, it's all locked up. Those that believe anybody Wikipedia can't. That's a fucking stupid belief. If anybody could edit Wikipedia, somebody could destroy Wikipedia. They just have to go in, click edit, click select all, click delete, click save, and then move on to the next page. And before Wikipedia could even catch on, they could wreck page after page. So the notion that anybody can edit Wikipedia is stupid. They wouldn't have editors at Wikipedia long after they had been a nation in the world for a long time. Well, here, you know what? Let me just show you Naftali Bennett real quick saying this. Because I can't do it justice. When you have at the time, future prime minister and today former prime minister saying these things out loud, it's pretty crazy. Now, before I do that, I just want to show this real quick.
The Jews, Mr. Jones, have inflicted tremendous harm upon the United States.
Well, let me ask you a question. From your perspective, should the Jews be gotten rid of?
Yes, they should.
I'm going to stop you right there.
I'm going to stop you right there. I am Jewish.
That's weird. What a weird thing to be on TV or online. Anyway, here's Naftali Bennett talking to the Israeli nationalnews.com.
Moetzet Yesh, in conjunction with My Israel, has arranged instruction day for wiki editors. The goal of the day is to teach people how to edit in Wikipedia, which is the #1 source of information today in the world. As a way of example, if someone searches the Gaza flotilla, we want to be there. We want to be the guys who influence what is written there, how it's written, and to ensure that it's balanced and Zionist in nature. I came here to...
Look at Ellie trying to pull off the oh, I don't speak English very well illusion. So that was Naftali Bennett. Again, if somebody searches the Gaza flotilla, they want to be there. They want to influence how it's written, or what is written, how it's written, and to ensure that it's balanced and Zionist in nature. Not pro-Israel, not pro-Jewish, Zionist in nature. So, now that we're reading the Wikipedia page for the USS Liberty incident, and you can see that it's locked up. There is no editing this. So that means the only edits we get are the Israeli edits. It's pretty interesting, don't you think? About 5:45 Sinai time, a ship sighting report was received at Israeli Central Coastal Command. By the way, if you're watching, like, share, sub. This is a super important thing. Share this on your Facebook page. Take 2 seconds, click share. Facebook pops right up. Title it, "This guy is talking about USS Liberty." Tell him he's wrong. Whatever you need to do to protect yourself. But make sure you share this, because Americans need to know about our greatest ally. Which, again, there's no, give me some fucking proof that Israel is our ally, even a little bit. Give me one instance where Israel came to our defense or helped us in literally any fucking way. I would love to hear what sort of bullshit people come up with. In respect of Liberty, identified by an aerial naval observer as apparently a destroyer sailing 70 miles west of Gaza. The vessel's location was marked on a CCC control table using a red marker, because we have to have those details, right? They love giving us nonsense, bullshit details so that when you go back and you think about it, you'll remember shit like a red marker and be like, yeah, there must have been a lot of details. Of course, Ellie is an Israeli fucking Jewish spy pretending to be a Filipino. You know, the Filipinos that Israel... So, 2023, I forget what the order was called, but there was this thing that was going around that was trying to get rid of whatever Filipinos lived in Israel. And even though those Filipinos might have been there for a generation or two and claimed to be Jewish, because they were Filipino in descent, Israel was going to offer them $1,500 to leave and then $300 a month for the first year, because they didn't want Filipinos in Israel. Are you fucking crazy? Oh, she doesn't know what a J is. After all this time, she has no idea what's being talked about. Her English gets good or bad depending on what she's trying to pull off. Sometimes her English is just fine. Other times it turns into English. At about 6 p.m., the aerial naval observer, Major Uri Meritz, reported that the ship appeared to be a U.S. Navy supply ship. At about 900 hours, I guess, I'm assuming this is AM since it's in the 24-hour thing, the red marker was replaced with a green marker to indicate a neutral vessel. About the same time, an Israeli jet fighter pilot reported that a ship 20 miles off 20 miles north of Arish, had fired at his aircraft after he tried to identify the vessel. Israeli Naval Command dispatched 2 destroyers to investigate, but they were returned to their previous positions at 9:40 after doubts emerged during the pilot's debriefing. Wow, that's an amazingly efficient, fast bunch of shit to happen, especially in an incident where to believe was the result of catastrophic communications failures and whoopsies across the board. That's interesting. After the naval observers Noratlis landed and he was debriefed, the ship he saw was further identified as USS Liberty based on its GTR-5 hull markings. The USS Liberty's marker was removed from CCC's control table at 1100 hours due to its positional information being considered out of date. At 11:24, the Israeli Chief of Naval Operations received a report that Arish was being shelled from the sea. An inquiry into the source of the report was ordered to determine its validity. The report came from an air supply officer in Arish. Additionally, at 11:27, 3 minutes later, the Israeli Supreme Command head of operation received a report stating that the ship had been shelling Arish, but the shells had fallen short. Oh, no evidence. The investigative journalist James Bamford points out that Liberty had only 4 50 caliber machine guns mounted on her deck and thus could not have shelled the coast. The head of operations ordered that the report be verified and that it be determined whether or not Israeli Navy vessels were off the coast of Arish. At 11:45, 18 minutes later, another report arrived at Supreme Command saying 2 ships were approaching the Arish coast. The shelling and ship reports were passed from Supreme Command to Fleet Operations Control Center. The Chief of Naval Operations took them seriously, and at 12:05, Torpedo Boat Division 914 was ordered to patrol in the direction of Arish. Division 914, codenamed Pagoda, was under the command of Commander Moshe Oren. It consisted of 3 torpedo boats numbered T-203, T-204, and T-206. Didn't want to make it too obvious. At 12:15, Division 914 received orders to patrol a position 20 miles north of Arish. 10 minutes later. As Commander Oren headed towards Arish, he was informed by Naval Operations of the reported shelling of Arish and told the IAF Israel Air Force aircraft would be dispatched to the area after the target had been detected. Chief of Staff Yitzhak Rabin was concerned that the supposed Egyptian shelling was the prelude to an amphibious landing that could outflank Israeli forces. Something that never fucking happened. Like, not just here, but any other time. Rabin reiterated the standing order to sink any unidentified ships in the area, but advised caution as Soviet vessels were reportedly operating nearby. At 13:41, the torpedo boats detected an unknown vessel 20 miles northwest of Arish and 14 miles off the coast of Bardawil. The ship's speed was estimated on their radars. That's a sentence. The Combat Information Center officer at T-204, Ensign Aharon Yifra, reported to Oren that the target had been detected at a range of 22 miles, that her speed had been tracked for a few minutes, after which he had determined that the target was moving westward at a speed of 30 knots, 35 miles per hour. These data were forwarded to the Fleet Operations Control Center. The speed of the target was significant because it indicated that the target was a combat vessel. Moreover, Israeli forces had standing orders to fire on any unknown vessel sailing in the area at over 20 knots a speed which, at the time, could only be attained by warships. That seems like a really vague reason to shoot at people. The chief of naval operations had asked the torpedo boats to double-check their calculations. Yafra twice recalculated and confirmed his assessment. A few minutes later, Commander Oren reported that the target, now 17 miles from his position, was moving at a speed of 28 knots on a different heading. So they're just going, right? Bamford, however, points out that the Liberty's top speed was far below 28 knots. So, I mean, don't you see that it's like, it doesn't add up? Couldn't have been the Liberty then, could it? His sources say that at the time of the attack, Liberty was following her signal intercept mission course along the North Sinai coast at about 5 knots, 5.8 miles per hour. The data on the ship's speed, together with its direction, gave the impression that it was an Egyptian destroyer fleeing toward port after shelling Arish. The torpedo boats gave chase, but did not expect to overtake their target before it reached Egypt. Commander Oren requested that the Israeli Air Force dispatch aircraft to intercept. At 13:48, the Chief of Naval Operations requested dispatch of fighter aircraft to the ship's location. The IAF dispatched a flight of 2 Mirage 3 fighter jets, codenamed Cursa Flight, which arrived at Liberty at about 1400. The formation leader, Captain Iftach Spector, attempted to identify the ships. He radioed to one of the torpedo boats his observation that the ship looked like a military ship with 1 smokestack and 1 mast. He also communicated, in effect, that the ship appeared to him like a destroyer or another type of small ship. We're in danger. The sky is falling. The sky is falling. Did they shut off the comments again? In a post-attack statement, the pilot said they saw no distinguishable markings or flag on the ship, which is just not true. At this point, a recorded exchange took place. Nope, we have had to visit Grandpa in hospital. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, dude. At least the comment section still works. At this point, he recorded exchange system between a command headquarters weapons systems officer, one of the air controllers, and the chief air controller questioning a possible American presence. Immediately after the exchange, at 13:57, the chief air controller, Lieutenant Colonel Shmuel Kislev, cleared the Mirages to attack. After being cleared to attack, the Mirages dove on the ship and attacked with 30mm cannons and rockets. The attack came a few minutes after the crew completed a chemical attack drill with Captain Monagle on the command bridge. The crew was in stand-down mode and their helmets and life jackets removed. Battle readiness, modified condition 3, was set, which meant that the ship's 4 50 caliber machine guns were manned and ammunition was ready for loading and firing. 8 crewmen were either killed immediately or received fatal injuries and died later, and 75 were wounded. Among the wounded was McGonigal, who was hit in the right thigh and arm. During the attack, antennas were severed, gas drums caught fire, and the ship's flag was knocked down. But it wasn't flying any flags or identifiers. And it's weird how they just happened to target the communications network, the antennas. Weird, huh? McGonigal sent an urgent request for help to the 6th Fleet under attack by unidentified jet aircraft, require immediate assistance. Again, because they had taken all of their identifiers off those aircraft. The Mirages left after expending their ammunition and were replaced by a flight of 2 Dassault Super Mysteries, codenamed Royal Flight. The Mysteries, Mysteres, were armed with napalm bombs. Ugh, do you know what napalm is? Napalm is like a jelly when it catches fire. So when you get it on you and you're on fire, you go, oh shit, and you go to like wipe it off, it just smears it and it just spreads it, and it's a jelly that doesn't come off. It's such a brutal, you know, I think it's actually against UN regulations to use it, but and were flown by Captain Yossi Zook and his wingman Yaakov Hamerish. The Mysteries released their payloads over the ship and strafed it with their cannons. Much of the ship's superstructure caught fire. The Mysteries were readying to attack again when the Israeli Navy, alerted by the absence of, warned Kislev that the target could be Israeli. It had American flags on it. Kislev told the pilots not to attack if there was any doubt about identification, and the Israeli Navy quickly contacted all its vessels in the area. The Israeli Navy found that none of its vessels were under fire, and the aircraft were cleared to attack. However, Kislev was still disturbed by the lack of return fire and requested one last attempt to identify the ship. Captain Zook made an attempt to identify while strafing the ship. He reported seeing no flag, but saw the ship's GTR-5 marking. Kislev immediately ordered the attack stop. Kislev guessed that the ship was American. The fact that the ship had Latin alphabet markings led Chief of Staff Rabin to fear that the ship was Soviet now. Though Egyptian warships were known to disguise their identities with Western markings, they usually displayed Arabic letters and numbers only. Rabin ordered the torpedo boats to remain at a safe distance from the ship and sent in two Aerospatiale SA-321 Super Farallon helicopters to search for survivors. These radio communications were recorded by Israel. The order was also recorded in the torpedo boat's log, although Commander Oren claimed not to have received it. The order to cease fire was given at 14:20, 24 minutes before the torpedo boats arrived at the Liberty's position. Look at these dumb comments, right? Who the fuck is going to not want me talking about this other than Israelis? During the interval, crewmen aboard Liberty hoisted a large American flag during the early part of the air attack and before the torpedo boats were sighted. Liberty sent a distress message that was received by 6th Fleet aircraft carrier USS Saratoga. American aircraft USS America dispatched 8 aircraft. The carrier had been in the middle of a strategic exercise. Belch. U.S. Vice Admiral William I. Martin recalled the aircraft minutes later. Why? Why? Why would the aircraft have been recalled? Mechanical report of inquiry that during the latter moments of the air attack, it was noted that 3 high-speed boats were approaching the ship from the northeast on a relative bearing of approximately 135 degrees at a distance of about 15 miles. The ship at the time was still on course 283 true, speed unknown, but believed to be in excess of 5 knots. McGonagall testified that he, quote, believed that the time of the initial sighting of the torpedo boats was about 14:20, and that the boats appeared to be in a wedge-type formation with the center boat the lead point of the wedge. Estimated speed of the boats was about 27 to 30 knots, and that it, quote, appeared that they were approaching the ship in a torpedo launch attitude. So why did he pull the ships away? When the torpedo boats arrived, Commander Oren could see that the ship could not be the destroyer that had supposedly shelled Arish or any ship capable of 30 knots speed. According to Michael Limor, an Israeli naval reservist serving on one of the torpedo boats, they attempted to contact the ship by heliograph but radio, but received no response. At 6,000 meters, T-204 paused and signaled AA, which means identify yourself. Due to damaged equipment, McGonagall could only reply using handheld Aldis lamp. Orrin recalled receiving a similar response from the Ibrahim El-Awal, an Egyptian destroyer captured by Israel during the Suez Crisis, and was convinced that he was facing an enemy ship. He consulted an Israeli identification guide to Arab fleets and concluded the ship was the Egyptian supply ship El Quasar, based on observing its deck line, midship bridge, and smokestack. He did all this from a plane? The captain of boat T-203 reached the same conclusion independently. Independently, he came to the exact same conclusion that it was one in particular ship that the Egyptians had. That's not believable. I love the feed getting fucked up. Doesn't it just seem like the rest of this book? It's just like, how is that even a thing? The likelihood of that happening. We both thought it was this one ship, but it clearly wasn't. The boats moved into battle formation, but not attacked. As the torpedo boats rapidly approached, McGonagall ordered a sailor to proceed to machine gun Mount 51 and open fire. However, then noticed that the boats appeared to be flying an Israeli flag and quote, realized how the man understood the order. Oh, he didn't understand it, so he happened to fire a short burst, which then gave Israel the right to defend itself. McGonagall observed that machine gun Mount 53 being fired at a center torpedo boat at or about the same time gun Mount 51 fired, and that its fire was extremely effective and blanketed the area in the center I don't even want to read it. In dispute. Various details regarding the attack subject to controversy. Visibility of American flag, the official controversy. Visibility of American flag. The official Israeli reports say that the reconnaissance and fighter aircraft pilots and the torpedo boat captains did not see any flag on the Liberty. Official and after the attack. Wouldn't you? Those fucking lying-ass soldiers? Wouldn't you? Those fucking lying-ass soldiers? They're not God's chosen people. The helicopter sent to the attack site to provide assistance after the air attack noticed an American flag flying from the ship almost immediately upon their arrival at the attack site and informed their controller. Number 2, U.S. crewman's perception of intent. Surviving crew members of the Liberty say that Israel's attack on the ship was deliberate and with full knowledge that the vessel was American. Israeli investigation and history reports agree that the attack was deliberate, but against what they believed was an Egyptian vessel. The distinctiveness of USS Liberty's appearance. It is disputed whether the Liberty would have been immediately recognized as a different vessel from the Egyptian ship El Quasar. Admiral Thomas H. Moore stated that the Liberty was the most identifiable ship in the U.S. Navy, and in an interview with the Washington Post stated that it was ridiculous, quote, to suggest that it would not be identified as such. Israel states in its inquiry and history report it was based on, quote, the Red Book, a guide to Arab fleets, did not include U.S. vessels. So they're just flying around and shit, and they have their little book, and they're like, is this, let me just compare this while I'm flying around. Identification markings. Liberty bore an 8-foot high, 5-inch, and 4-foot high. An 8-foot high 5 and a 4-foot high GTR along either bow, clearly displaying her hull or pennant number AGTR-5 to indicate she was a technical research ship. She also had 18-inch 460 millimeter high letters spelling the vessel's name across her stern. These markings were not an Israeli warship, and that they ended when they noticed the Latin alphabet markings. Ship's identification known during attack. A James Bamford book published in 2001 said that secret NSA intercepts indicate that Israeli pilots had full knowledge they were attacking a U.S. vessel. Like, where's the confusion here? Effort for identification. The American crew says the attacking aircraft did not make the naval inquiry based on the Israeli timeline of events found. One may infer from the fact that within a period of approximately 15 minutes, the request was transmitted for aircraft to be dispatched, received a command decision made, aircraft dispatched, and the attack launched with no significant time was expanded in effort to identify the ship and from the air before the attack was launched. So again, it's that the American soldiers are lying or Israel is lying. Speed of the vessel. According to the Israeli accounts, the torpedo boats made erroneous measurements that indicated the Liberty was streaming at 30 knots, 35 miles per hour. They couldn't tell the difference between 35 miles per hour and 5 miles per hour. Israeli naval doctrine at the time required that a ship traveling at that speed must be presumed to be a warship. So, a second boat calculated Liberty's speed to be 8 knots or 32 miles per hour. The maximum sustained speed of Liberty was only 17 or 20 miles per hour. Okay, according to the count of inquiry findings, the ship was streaming at 5.8 miles per hour at the time of the attack. Motive. James Bamford, among others, says one possible motive was to prevent the U.S. from eavesdropping on Israeli military activities and monitoring the events taking place in nearby Gaza. Gee, that's weird. Almost like Gaza's been a fucking target for a long time. In a study of the incident concluding that there was insignificant evidence to support either accidental or deliberate attack, Colonel Peyton E. Smith wrote, "The attack was most likely deliberate for reasons far too sensitive to be disclosed by the U.S. or Israeli government, and that the truth may never be known." Fucking liar. Author and former crew member James M. Ennis theorized in the epilogue of his book, Assault on the Liberty, that the motive was to prevent the ship's crew from monitoring radio traffic that might reveal Israel as the aggressor in the impending invasion of Syria, which the White House opposed. According to the Anti-Defamation League, because they're a credible source, the argument that Israel knowingly attacked an American ship has always lacked a convincing motive. The idea that there's no motive. Nope, we didn't have a motive for it, so. Israeli aircraft markings. The USS Liberty Veterans Association says the attacking Israeli aircraft were not marked, but a crew member recalls watching a Jewish officer cry on seeing the blue Star of David on their fuselage. The torpedo boats that attacked Liberty flew the Israeli flag. But a crew member recalled watching a Jewish officer cry on seeing this blue Star of David on their fuselages. So all of the Americans are lying when they say they didn't see any markings. But some random Jewish crew member recalled seeing a Jewish officer crying because he saw a Star of David on a plane that he undoubtedly saw a gazillion times. Are you fucking serious that this is happening? Like, it's so irritating to think that there's some sort of question about this narrative. That there's any sort of denial, and that again, Israel is our greatest ally. And there's nothing contradictory to that statement, and they've never done anything negative, and apparently they've helped us out way more than they've hurt us. Like, who here has heard everything read so far and thinks that Israel just made a simple mistake? That's all. Anybody could have made that mistake. That seriously has to be the dumbest of all the things that I've read so far. The dumbest contradiction that Israel made, because again, all of the Americans are lying. All of those American soldiers are lying. And that the Israeli officer cried when he saw the Star of David on a fuselage. So that's proof that the planes were actually marked. I think the TBG boyers, the TBG guys need to write a song about this. Probably going to get written after this video is done. Jamming. During U.S. Naval Court of Inquiry testimony, Wayne L. Smith, Jesus Christ, Wayne L. Smith, Radio Man Chief, testified that radio communications were intermediately jammed. Rear Admiral Kidd, a senior member of Naval Court of Inquiry, reported Liberty reported apparent discriminate jamming on certain CW and voice circuits just before and during each aircraft's individual attack. None of the Israeli Defense Forces investigations or reports confirm or deny radio frequency jamming. Oh, well, then that means it's not true. Jamming as a motive. A UPI report published by the Washington Star on September 19, 1977, indicated CIA documents obtained by the American Palestine Committee suggested Israeli Defense Minister Moshe Dayan ordered the attack because Liberty was jamming Israeli communications. A CIA document dated 23rd of June 67 said Liberty had been jamming Israeli communications. Another CIA document dated November 9th, 1967, quoted unidentified agency informants as saying Dayan personally ordered the attack. The CIA said the documents were unevaluated for accuracy. Why wasn't there like the largest fucking investigation possible done into this? Israeli ships' actions after the torpedo hit. Officers and men of Liberty say that after the torpedo attack and the abandoned ship order, motor torpedo boats strafed the ship's topside with automatic gunfire, preventing the men from escaping below, and either machine gunned or confiscated the enemy life rafts that had been set afloat. The IDF says that the Liberty was not fired upon after the torpedo attack, and that a rescue raft was fished from the water while searching for survivors. So literally, every single one of these things is presented as the American soldiers say one thing, and the Israelis say something else, and that means the Israelis are right. This is horrendous. Israeli offers to help. The Liberty's captain, several of the Liberty's crewmen, and the Israelis stated that help was offered, but at different times. The Liberty's deck log signed by the captain has an entry at 1503 stating, 1 MTB returned to the ship and signaled, "Do you need help?" The Israeli Defense Forces history report and the Ramron report both say help was offered at 1640, and the offer was rejected. This is just appalling, man. Ongoing controversy and unresolved question. Some intelligence and military officials dispute Israel's explanation. In 1991, Dean Rusk, U.S. Secretary of State at the time of the incident, wrote, I was never satisfied with the Israeli explanation. Their sustained attack to disable and sink Liberty precluded an assault by accident or some trigger-happy local commander. Through diplomatic channels, we refused to accept their explanations. I didn't believe them then, and I don't believe them to this day. The attack was outrageous. Retired Naval Commander, Lieutenant Commander James Ennis, a junior officer and off-going office of the deck on Liberty's bridge at the time of the attack, authored a book titled Assault on the Liberty, describing the incident and saying, among other things, that the attack was deliberate. Ennis and Joe Meteors, also a survivor of the attack, run a website about the incident. Meteors states that the classification of the attack was as deliberate is the official policy of the USS Liberty Veterans Association, to which survivors and other former crew members belong. Other survivors run several additional websites, citing Ennis's book, Lensowski notes Liberty's personnel received firm orders not to say anything to anybody about the attack, and that the naval inquiry was conducted in such a way as to earn the name of cover-up. In 2002, Captain Ward Boston, JAG-C U.S. Navy Senior Counsel for the Court of Inquiry, said that the Court of Inquiry's findings were intended to cover up what was a deliberate attack by Israel on a ship that the Israelis knew to be American. In 2004, in response to a publication of A.J. Crystal's book, The Liberty Incident, which Boston said was an insidious attempt to whitewash the facts, Boston prepared and signed an affidavit in which he said that Admiral Kidd had told him that the government ordered Kidd to falsely report the attack was a mistake, and that Boston and Kidd both believed the attack was deliberate. Crystal wrote about Boston's professional qualifications and integrity on page 149 of his book. Boston brought two special assets in addition to his skill as a Navy lawyer. He had been a naval aviator in World War II and therefore had insight beyond that of one qualified only by law. Also, Kidd knew him as a man of integrity. On an earlier matter, Boston went to bump heads with Kidd when Boston felt it was more important to do the right thing than his fitness report. Oh man, there's so much here. I can't do this today. So I'm going to have to do more of this tomorrow because I'm exhausted. This is fascinating stuff. Well, we'll have to continue tomorrow because I'm fucking... This is harder than you guys think. So make sure you come back tomorrow. Make sure you check out all of the links and stuff. If I'm wrong, make sure you read all about this tonight, USS Liberty, so that tomorrow you can tell me what I'm wrong about. All right? Go check out all the links. There's lots of them. I adjusted it, so now there's lots of them. There's links. It's all receipts, man. It's all receipts or links to the music. One of the two. Go check them out. More importantly than anything else I ever say. You Matitza Pedos, you